Hi everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Day's Podcast along with a new video. So today I wanted to, first of all, thank you so much for liking and subscribing. I truly appreciate it, and I will be coming back with more. Of course, there are 2 new Patreon videos, so definitely check them out. I will be having more Patreon videos as we go. I actually do have a sequence on what we're going to be able to do on how these videos will be displayed, so just bear with me. So yes, today I wanted to talk about Anti by Rihanna, her album. So I never got to truly talk about Rihanna's music as much as Beyonce's and Janet and Michael. And I am segueing into talking about more artists, but I'm also noticing that I want to talk from also where artists have left off too. So the video I had just recently did for Janet, which is Unbreakable, that's her last recent album, which was in 2015. So what better way to go into a similar effect with no other than Rihanna with her last studio album, which was in 2016, months later. And yeah, let's get into it. So Anti is the 8th studio album by Barbadian singer Rihanna. It was released January 28th of 2016 by Roc Nation. She started recording this album in 2014 after departing from Def Jam Records, who had released all her albums since her 2005 debut. As executive producer, Rihanna recorded Anti with producers, just different producers. That includes Timbaland, No ID, Hit Boy, DJ Mustard. At studios in Canada, the United States, and France. SZA and Drake contribute guest vocals. And it's something because we know it's SZA now. And of course, we know Drake now. But it's just, at that time, Drake and SZA, were both growing. And I know it's something because they're Scorpios too. And I'll be talking about SZA's albums as well, because she's talked about now, but I am a fan of her, and I've been a fan of her for a long time, and I feel like I need to talk about that Control album and what it is to just know that y'all are loving her SOS album, because I mean, SOS was something she was gonna have out in the midst of Control, but it just took some more time. So yes, back to Anti, because the reason why I'm bringing up SZA is because she's the first track. Consideration is the first track, so it's just like, okay, you get to really hear SZA as you're hearing Rihanna just be like, hey, hey girl, it's just like conceived in the midst of creative struggles and emotional turmoil. There's a lot going on. Anti features an atmospheric production brought by lo-fi beats, distorted vocals, and down-tempo arrangements. The first half consists of bass-heavy tracks, while the second is categorized by textured minimalism. Compared to the radio-friendly dance songs which had categorized Rihanna's prior discography, Anti is more muted and soulful. Primarily a pop, dancehall, psychedelic soul, and alternative R&B record, Anti also incorporates an array of eclectic influences spanning from dancehall, hip-hop, soul, industrial, psychedelic, doo-wop, country, synth rock, and trap. The lyrics are about the emotions ensued from love and relationships, from endearment and desire to betrayal and liberation, with references to sex, drugs, and alcohol. The promotional campaign for Anti whichever, however y'all say it, from summer 2014, comprised prolonged release delays, and a $25 million deal with $25 million deal with Samsung. Oh yeah, because everybody was trying to tap on their phones, being like, "When is the album?" Yeah. Rihanna announced the cover art and title at the MAMA Gallery on October 7th, 2015. The Anti World Tour ran from March to November 2016, and 4 songs were released as singles, including the US Hot 100 #1 work in the United States. Anti is Rihanna's second #1 album and the first album by a black woman to spend 300 weeks on the Billboard 200. It was certified 6 times platinum by the Recording Academy. The album topped charts in Canada and Norway, and it received multi-platinum certifications in Belgium, Canada, Denmark, France, New Zealand, and Poland. Upon release, critics commended the album's emotional honesty, but were divided on the production. Praise mainly centered on Rihanna's newfound musical freedom. Some took issue with the lack of radio-friendly songs and the unfocused track list, but others noted the musical shift marked Rihanna's artistic maturity and regarded it as one of her best albums. At the 2017 Grammy Awards, the album and its singles received 6 nominations, including one for Best Urban Contemporary Album. Anti featured on 2010's Decade End lists by such publications as Billboard, NME, and Pitchfork. It ranked 230 on Rolling Stone's 2020 edition of the 500 Greatest Albums of All Time, and 55 on Apple Music 100 Best Albums. As of March 2024, Anti is the 4th longest charting female album in 200 Billboard history. So, because this album, like with Janet, was just given and they haven't really came back since, it's anticipated, it's listened to, it's like, this is all we got, it gives that type of feel. Even with Janet, it's just like, this is what we got. She has new songs since Anti, but it's not attached to an album. So it's like, even when you listen to singles, it's not an album, it's not a project. So it's just, this is what we have from her. When it came to her previous album, Unapologetic, which was 4 years prior, there was a sense that she wanted something different. There was different themes that was from her previous albums, whether it was Rated R, Loud, Talk That Talk. She started new music as soon as October 2014, when she was pretty much done with the Diamonds World Tour, and she co-headlined the Monster Tour with Eminem. So it was just, she was just touring and touring and touring from respected releases. And then when it came to this album, it was like, all right, I need to figure out how I want to go about this album in such a different way. March 2014, she signed with American rapper Jay-Z, Jay-Z's Rock Nation, after leaving Def Jam and gaining the right to her album masters. Oh, let's read that again. After leaving Def Jam and gaining the right to her album masters, Jay-Z was her mentor when she moved here. Up to that point, Rihanna had released 1 studio album each year from 2005 to 2012, with the exception of 2008, totaling 7. So, she was able to gain rights to her masters from just working at Def Jam, and why not? It's just that's a lot of music. But yes, she worked with Kanye and Paul McCartney, and they had the song 4 or 5 seconds, and I can't say it was the best song, but I know if it had like a real story, like they're like if they weren't just standing in one place throughout the whole song, the perception of the song would have been much bigger. I felt that they wanted to just kind of keep it simple that way. But I just know based off of just how people make music videos now, if they was just running around in a nice cute Cadillac, it was a special color of whatever to just to signify the video, and you know they're in different parts of the country, then that's different. Or just showing different parts of the country going through things, and yeah, I mean they did, but I'm just saying, like, you know, there's a way that I know that, you know, when things are made, it may give people more insight to the song as opposed to them just not wanting to just listen sometimes, and it can be conflicting. But yeah, let's get into the track list. So yes, upon singles, upon releasing, it did fairly good, though people were trying to understand after the release, after the touring, is she doing more? And unfortunately, this was her letting us know at the time, I will be back when I decide to. Rightfully so. Y'all got 7 different projects back to back. I haven't really sat down like that since 14, 15 years old. Okay, if you're born in 88. Yeah, if she was born in 88, 15 would make her 2003. And then, yeah, by 2005, you know, 16, 17, already coming out with Pond to Replay, you know, you just been constantly working. But yeah, track listing. Consideration featuring SZA's #1. Then you have James Joint, which is #2. Both songs, there's really no skips to this album for me. Yeah, I can listen to the whole thing. Yeah, Consideration is a great song. James Joint, I know there's people that feel like, how is that an interlude? I wish that was, why don't this have a chorus where it goes into another verse? But I mean, there is 2 verses in here, but there's not too much of a chorus, because it's supposed to lead us into the next song, which is Kiss It Better, which is the next single from, you know, where she started with Work, I believe. So like, even with Kiss It Better, like that was a big deal as far as just being in black and white, and you know, her vocal ability. So with Work having a feature, you know, it definitely, you know, brought us in the club, and you know, it got us out. Yes, it is a #1 song, of course. Desperado, I love that song, great song. I love the beat that comes in too. Woo, you know, that was something that I feel like I wasn't expecting. Woo, like, I really like, and like I wasn't expecting that. Great song. And just, yeah, just that time, just the era. It just was a different time. Needed Me kind of just brought it out even further. And the thing is, you know, Bitch Better Have My Money could have possibly been a bonus track, because that came out before all these tracks. But, you know, Needed Me, I stood alone. You, yes. Yeah, I said it. Great song too. It's short though, similar to James Joint, but it's a little longer. But you know, often songs now are kind of similar to this, where it's like at least 2.5 minutes. It's just, you kind of wish they were longer. And then when they do be longer, it's like, oh my god, this is so much lyrical content. But Same Old Mistakes, kind of beating that to the punch, that's 6.5 minutes long. And Same Old Mistakes, even though it's covered, you know, that's one of my favorite songs from her, hands down. Like, I love that song. And just the instrumental, it just takes you to another world. just takes you to another world. Never ending. It's very calming. Um, and I love it. I love Never Ending. Love on the Brain. You know, it's something because you know, as we're getting close to the end of the album, you know, there were just instances of Rihanna letting us know in each album, like, I still want love. Like, I want love. I may not be able to lose love from this person right away, or if there's love there, I want to keep it. You know, she always let us know that. Higher, you know, that's pretty much what I was saying. Like, just she just always gave a lot when it came to these projects. Close to You, sad ending, but you know, it was 13 tracks, and you know, the deluxe. I love deluxe. I love deluxe editions. More tracks, more to the story, the project, the era itself, and it gives clarity. So when Goodnight Gotham came, you know, that was another interlude, just bringing us into Pose, and Pose is pretty fun, you know, the different you know, sounds, and then of course Sex with Me. It honestly, yeah, great ending for this. Very mature, if you ask me, because when you look at her now, 8 years later, with children, multi damn near $1 billion business, if it is, if it may be, you know, and just really embracing life, you know, because at a young age it was just constant work, like most young stars. So just to see her in her 30s just kind of really just reeling in life the way she wants to, it's reflective. And this album was pretty much preparing us for that, where it was like, okay, don't say y'all didn't get all of whatever y'all are probably listening to now or want more out of based off of this. And even previously, Unapologetic was, you know, is honestly this twin, but more or less the older side, because this is kind of her dipping back but then forward, and maybe even looking into the future too, in my perspective. But yes, album was #1 here, Billboard 200 top R&B hip hop albums. Sweden #2, UK said #7 as far as just in general, and then R&B went #1. I feel like the cover was probably why there's certain numbers here, which it could have been higher, because the cover was controversial, as I should say. Irish albums, it went #2. Japan, it was in the top 10. Norwegian, it went #1. New Zealand, 5. You know, it did well, and I think that just from this and from touring, she said if anything, there's just more to do for myself, reflectively outside of music, and that's only right. After 8 albums, I don't think she doesn't not need to do that. Like, I think that's a good thing, especially with it being back to back. That's very consistent, and that's a thing when it comes to even albums that people put out where it may have taken a couple years, or maybe 5, or maybe possibly 10. It's just selling an album or putting an album out in whatever climate that it is at whatever time. It does take a lot from an artist, and it does take things from them, because that era is a part of them. That's it. I wouldn't say exposing, but that's more of putting a sense of them out for the world to project, as opposed to all these other things that they'll jot down and maybe even put into perspective later. But it takes a lot. And so with Rihanna and with any other artist that may or may have not released music in a while, you know, even down to B, we haven't had a B album from Lemonade, as opposed to Renaissance. That's a 6-year break, as opposed to having, you know, The Gift, as a, you know, Black is King, you know, as opposed to having Everything Is Love, collaborative projects at the same time. It's like an actual album. It took some time, and then we have 2 years from that, Cowboy Carter. So again, it's just, you know, with artists, they have plenty of music and they want to put it out the best way possible. So as far as with this video, I hope you guys enjoyed it. This is the end of our episode, and I'll be back with more.